I'd like to welcome everybody to the Board of Education meeting for the University of North Posey for the June 11th meeting of 2018, and we'll open it up by joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first item on the agenda is our approval of the minutes, claim docket, and consent items as listed, presented to everybody. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent item minutes and claim docket.
We have a motion for a second.
I'll second that.
So a motion by Mr. Schmidt and seconded by Mr. Stock to approve the consent items, minutes, and claim dockets as presented. Any comments or questions regarding those items?
Still looking for an elementary speech.
Yes.
North Element, or well.
Well, it's
yeah,
it's north. It's
North and
really,
south.
yeah.
correct. Any other comments? All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Yeah, we have a presentation for you tonight. First thing on the agenda, I would like to ask the board to approve a committee. In light of the school shootings, I'm asking the board to approve the North Posey Study Committee on Safety. The North Posey Study Committee on Safety will have the duty to develop a comprehensive active shooter plan, both preventative and reactive. It will consist of all administrators, Vince Oakley, Tom Latham, and Corey Mall. And if needed, a teacher representative from the association. I'd like to have the board form this, allow me to form this committee so the committee will be able to create an active shooter plan. It will be reviewed by the Countywide School Safety Commission that was created several years ago by law. The North Posey Study Committee on Safety will bring suggestions and recommendations to the board. The committee will have a chair and it will have a secretary for minutes that will support the recommendations to the board. So basically, if you will approve this committee, we'll have the study committee, that's North Posey's committee. They will work in conjunction with the safety commission, which is county-wide, and this board to improve the safety for the 2018-19 school year. I'm asking the board now to approve this committee, create and approve these people to be on this committee.
So we'll entertain a motion to approve the formation of the North Posey Study Committee on Safety as presented by Dr. Camp. Entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the committee and the recommendations of people on the committee that Dr. Camp said.
And I'll second that.
So we have a first by Mrs. Will and a second by Mr. Schmidt to approve the formation of the North Posey Study Committee on Safety as presented by Dr. Camp. Any comments or questions? I guess write down some things as you were speaking. So when we say administrators, do we need to define that more specific? Which administrators, or are we including all
It
administrators?
would be everyone from every building, because anything that the committee would do, then they would have to, and you approve, they have to implement, so they have to know what's going on.
But one per building.
But one per building.
Okay, that's where I was
Yeah.
getting at, because some buildings, obviously the high school has more administrators than one.
One per building.
Okay, so one administrator per building.
Yeah.
And then, we as a board will have the ability to send a timeline of, I know like the safety audits, kind of been a key word thrown out and about to make sure that when that's done, they're due back or have a report back to us by, which I would hope would be before school start of 18-19. So we have that
Well,
ability. to do that.
before we decided to create the committee, we had already had several meetings planned over the summer
Right.
with some of these individuals. So we will go ahead and take those meetings that were already planned, and then we will now go ahead and make them committee meetings, since if you will approve the committee tonight.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Do we want to go through the presentation before we
Vote,
it's
I'd like
comments?
for you to vote now, and then we'll.
Okay.
So no, you can't.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Now I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dr. Angie Weinmuller, who has put together a presentation of where we're at, and this will help that committee greatly. So, Dr. Weinmuller.
Okay. Greg, you want to take my seat? Can you see?
I can take that seat.
I'll see. Have to bear with me. This is a new projector, so let's make sure I can do it. What I put together is a show that pretty much will explain to the study committee exactly what activities and procedures that we did during the 17-18 school year. And then I also had just a little bit of a history of active shooter drills in the county. It's not supposed to do that, is it, Annie? Can you click it over there?
I think it's too big. It's not, there we go. Hold on, do it, Jake.
Oh, not that.
This is new technology for us.
And it worked perfectly when
It
Jake was
did.
there
Jake
helping
was
us.
here. He walks away. It didn't work.
He's laughing right now.
It's right there. Yep, just get right there. It's that one. right
Okay, okay. So we look at the progression of active shooter drills in North Posey. And it was even prior to 2010, 2011. I'm not for sure when it started. State police might be able to tell me. But they gained permission from the board to use our buildings for their own practice activities. So our staff wasn't present during these type of exercises, but the state police used our buildings. And then in 2011, 2012, what came out of the safety commission meeting would have been the first active shooter drills. And MSD and Mount Vernon hosted those drills, and they invited North Posey to attend. Those were held at, the first ones at Farmersville, Mount Vernon Junior High School. And then, as you can see, in 2012-13 school year, we started having our own here in North Posey. Those would be annual drills, or if not annual, every other year. And all the staff in the district were invited to attend, but it was not mandatory attendance. And then finally, we progressed down to this school year where we started having each of those drills in every building. Okay, Amy. There you go. Okay, thank you. Can you just do it? Okay. So these are the different types of trainings that were offered in connection with the police department and the state police. And a big thank you, as you can see, Officer Workmeister really donated a lot of time to the efforts here. Not only was he responsible for trainings in all 4 of our school building, he also had meetings, I know, with administrative staff prior to some of the trainings. So this is just documenting all of the active shooter drills that were held with our staff. Now these type of trainings, the students were not present. These are the active shooter drills. Now, our hard and soft down drills, this is practiced with the students as well as the staff. If you look at the hard lockdown drills, those hard lockdown drills, when compared to the active shooter drills, these would be the differences. And with the staff, rounds of blanks were shot off down the hallways. But we did the same procedure in the hard lockdown that the students also participated in. But when the students practice the hard lockdown drill, you do not have the blanks going off. Now, Mr. Kavanaugh can contest too that they do rattle the doorknobs and do that type of stuff, but you're not getting any of the sound to it. So these are all the different types of soft lockdowns that actually occurred, and then those are the drills. You know, soft lockdown, things are going on as normal, but the kids aren't going outside, but they're still conducting class as usual. Hard lockdown, they're locked in, lights off, and they're taking wherever secured areas within the classroom. Okay, these are the additional type of activities that we did. And I do need to point out, these aren't all the drills that we practiced. I really just took out everything in connection to active shooter. So these are some of the other trainings that we did with the staff. And this one here also had the students present. These are just some more of the staff safety meetings, conferences, and audits that the administration and the staff went to. And again, it was the focus was on active shooters or intruders. Also, Officer Workmeister, you'll see him in there again. Things again. We also have a prevention of violence program. This is in connection to the grants that we receive to support our prevention of violence programs. These are our certified school resource officers, Glenn Boyster, Doug Salzman, and they are paid or help to be paid through these funds. We have safety grants through the Secured School Safety Grant that helps pay for their salaries. It's also referred to as a Safe Haven Grant. Oh, I'm sorry, Safe Haven Grant pays for the Youth First Social Worker, and then the United Way Grant this year also helps pay for the Youth First Social Worker, and so would be plural social workers. And they are part of the prevention part of the evidence-based programs. So when I say evidence-based programs, I'm talking about prevention programs that have research behind them that are actually shown to be effective. And these are our district certified school safety specialists, our administrative team, and hopefully we'll have the high school represented next year, have went through these trainings. The trainings consist of, initially it's 4 days that you go to Indianapolis to be trained. And then you take online courses throughout that year. So you can complete your initial certification within a year. And then annually, you have to go up for 2 days of training. So Mr. Kavanaugh is our district school safety specialist. And I included this website here for the study committee because we get a lot of our resources from that website. These are all the evidence-based preventative type programs that were implemented during the 17-18 school year, majority of which comes from Youth First, but there's also some private presenters that were also brought in. This is the Secured School Safety Grant. Last year we received $95,000 from that grant. That grant pays for safety equipment as well as the SRO officer salaries. These are some of the safety equipment that was purchased last year, and then this year we've written in the security cameras, the portable radio, staff alert phone system. Now this is a competitive grant, so it's not automatic each year. So this would be the 6th year in a row that if we indeed get it, it'll be the 6th year. This is the Indiana Code. This is what Dr. Camp had referenced before. This was put into law as far as the formation of a countywide school safety commission. We already had it in place before it was written into Indiana Code, and it was called the Posey County Safety Roundtable, I believe. Is that right? Sure. And what the state was trying to do is to make sure that there was some sort of forum where all of the emergency responders or the police officials could work with the schools in developing safety plans and reviewing safety plans. So when Dr. Camp said you would then take that plan to the Safety Commission, that's what he was referring to here, just for feedback. It's not required that you have to have their permission to implement the plan, but that is a resource for school districts. Now, also in the Indiana Code, it has who all should be included in that county safety commission. We meet usually twice a year. Mount Vernon will host one, and then we host one. And then you can call any of the individual agencies, like we had a meeting first semester with them after incident, and they can help us then in a more informal setting, work on your procedures. But here are all the different members on that committee. Also here, it's kind of cut off. Number 9, the state lets you also, the commission can add people to it. And in Posey County, the fire department's there, the first responders, and the EMS. Anybody else? I think that's about it. We also I presented at the last Safety Commission meeting, the Safety in Our Schools program that we would like to do September 2018. This is in collaboration with the North Posey PTOs. And the purpose of this would be really just to communicate what we're doing today in our schools. And it's similar to what was on TV that focused on Warwick County and Evansville, and what procedures they had in place as far as keeping the children safe. After the Noblesville shooting, the Department of Education did come out with some threat assessment protocols. So if you have somebody, let's say on Facebook, that posted something, you're trying to decide if it's a viable threat or not. These are different types of threat assessments that you can use to see if it's a low-level threat or medium-level threat or a high-level threat. And it's some of the first ones that really they have endorsed for us. I think the Noblesville shooting might have kind of forced their hand into, I think they were worried about liability and saying which thing to use. Does that make sense? Which CAM program to use or which evidence-based protocol to use. So this came out just within hours of that shooting. I would say, what, 48 hours even? I don't even think it was that, maybe 24. Okay, and then this would be the different safety or the different tasks that Dr. Camp would like the study committee to look at. The number one thing would be to develop the active shooter comprehensive plan for the preventive programs as well as the reactionary drills. Here are some things that currently we use the protocol, the run, hide, fight. And that protocol, our standard response protocol, came out of the city of Houston, and it was in connection with Homeland Security, the development of that type of procedure. And that's really what the Indiana State Police endorsed that. And then also there's this lockout, lockdown, evacuate, shelter. And that comes from the Love You Guys Foundation. The Department of Ed safety site uses a lot of the I Love You Guys Foundation programs and what else is on there?
Reunification system.
Reunification, yeah, and we do need to develop a reunification plan too. When we're looking at active shooter drills, as far as the progression of those drills, I know it's controversial, but the next step, it would be what exactly would the student involvement look like? Do we want to start doing the tabletop exercises with the students? Do we want them to actually hear the blanks? That's something that your study committee will look at. We also, if you can go back, yeah. And also the adoption of one of those threat assessments. Like I said, the ones were from the University of Virginia. And then probably to drive all of this thing would be your school district risk assessment. Those are sometimes called threat assessments themselves, which is kind of confusing whenever you're talking about a threat assessment by a student. So you might want to go with the terminology risk assessment. Anyway, so you would have some sort of outside agency come in and they would look at exactly what risk for an intruder would be and then what actions need to be taken. Okay, I did that kind of fast, but the school board members, do you have any questions for me?
So what is the reunification plan? I think I have an idea what it is, but I want to make sure.
For instance, North Elementary students would be taken to St. Francis School. Well, then once they're there, then what's the procedure about matching the student up with the parent?
Okay.
Yeah, that type of thing. Make sure everybody's accounted for.
And the way this is being handled currently is that the Safety Commission is reviewing these items on an annual basis or as needed.
It's really when we, at our request.
At our request.
Because they talk, like the round table, it will be like, we usually have a program, that's on a more like timely topic, whatever that would be. And then it goes into a round table where each agency kind of highlights some things that they had learned, our upcoming legislation, that type of thing.
Okay. And then you mentioned the grant that we were able to get this year, and we've gotten like 5 or 6 years in a row, I
Mhm.
believe it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
where-
secured school grant.
There you go, sorry about that. So who is awarding that grant? What's that grant through?
It's through the state.
It's through the state
Mhm.
level, is that through,
Isn't it the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute?
That's the
No,
one for the
it's
social.
Homeland Security.
Mhm.
Yeah, in this short, special session they just held, they've added $5 million to the past, that one-day session they just held, when the governor called everybody
Right.
back. There were some things that did not get done in the regular session, and so they were able to pass, so they've added $5 million to that account.
okay,
And we've been successful. We had the Safe Schools grant, and that was a 5-year program. And we got in on the tail end of that grant, and we were able to, that was kind of seed money really for us.
Yes.
But it had a 5-year lifespan, and that was for Safe School initiatives countywide. Then it became up to the districts to go out and be very competitive in the grant cycles, because the legislature then created a funding source through Indiana Homeland Security. And that's what we've been successful in the last 6 years.
6 years.
Hopefully 6 years,
Mhm.
hopefully 6 years.
Yeah. Correct.
so for our members, concerned members of our community, if they're interested in championing our cause, that's through our local legislators who have jurisdiction over or have input on these.
As a matter of fact, Wendy McNamara was one that sponsored this last bill that increased that amount statewide by $5 million.
Gotcha.
And really also to put more pressure on the Department of Education to endorse a program, or like I said, finally they brought out some threat assessments that were research-based, but they really haven't recommended anything other than they will provide us resources at the Safety Academy. But really nothing with teeth in it, like a question that came up, how often are you required to practice the drills? Well, there's not a number of required practices in terms of active shooter. You just have to have the policy and procedure in your safety manual.
There is no mandate. That's one thing. We just met with legislators about 2 weeks ago. The Southwest contingent of sheriffs met with all of the legislators about 2 weeks ago, and that was some discussion of if there's going to be some mandates legislated, and then what those mandates will look like. Because right now in this grant process, it's up to the district how they want to spend that money for school safety. North Posey is chosen as one of the components of that grant to implement the SRO program. Mount Vernon is not. So it's up, we're literally going district by district as to how these snippets of the picture of safety is going to be handled in the district. So, and here, hats off to Dr. Waterman. She's worked in concert with us on putting the language in those grants, and fortunately enough, we've been successful in bringing them here to the county.
And we started out with just capturing about $20,000, and then now we're up to $95,000, and next school year we're asking for $100,000.
And just, for clarification, I mean, without those mandates, I mean, the ability to have teeth within our contract and, with the different people in our building becomes much more difficult to incorporate. I mean,
Absolutely.
like, for example, I mean, we're all aware of fire alarms, fire drills. I mean, the state mandates those.
Correct.
So there's no ambiguity with that. They don't have any mandates right now with this other safety, so that makes it difficult.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then, Sheriff Oak, if you can answer this question too, what you have in front of you there on the police certification here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Part of that grant, I have to send in what type of training our SRO officers complete each school year. So there's some active shooter trainings, and whenever Officer Boyster gave that to me, he said that you required them to have so many hours of training.
That's state mandated.
It's state
Yeah, that's a state mandated, a minimum of 24 hours of mandated training. And then, of course, most of the officers go well above that. But that is a mandate just to keep the officer certification. That's to keep the individual, that gets to be credentialed as a law enforcement officer. So,
Yeah, I appreciate
so they're,
that.
yes, they're continuing that.
Doing that and picking up costs like this.
Yes.
Will we get a, can we get a copy of this?
Yeah, in fact, we talked about putting it on the website as well. And we have did you PDF your copy of that? This copy?
No, I'm not yet.
Okay, yeah, so we could probably send it to the board members in a PDF.
This committee is gonna meet this month and start working on this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's really a lot of work to be done to be ready by next school year. Getting that risk assessment completed would be a huge step forward. Some of those resources from the I Love You Guys Foundation, as well as from the Safety Academy, it has a step-by-step process. I think it's laid out easier for a study committee from the I Love You Guys Foundation rather than from the Safety Academy, from the Department of Ed.
And this committee is not a specific task completion committee. This is an ongoing committee that's going to
Right, I don't
meet.
think you'll be able to get everything completed by the start of school, but we at least need a calendar. And there were some events, can you go back, Amy, a few slides? It was, let's go down here, let's see. Now, maybe it's up here. We already have some meetings on the book that Dr. Camp was referring to. If they're not on here, let me see here. If they're not on here, Jeff, I'll make sure that I get those dates to you.
Well, I think the biggest thing is I just want to make sure is that our plans are this is going to be a continuation committee.
Yeah, because the big thing on the date that's already been established, I guess it's in August now. Yes, which is
Officer Ringo.
Officer Ringon. He helps Warwick County develop their safety calendar. And so basically, we're going to try to develop a calendar for safety trainings for this upcoming school year. There's some of those things that we have to get in place before the start of the school year.
Our study committee is gonna meet on the 26th.
Mhm.
I mean, we
That
already
too,
had that,
July 26th, we
we
have that
already
one
had
as
that
well.
planned.
June 22nd.
I'm sorry, June 26th, yeah.
And
We
so,
already have-
so we'll have by the next meeting, we'll have documented members of the committee, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I think once everybody meets, we'll have to kind of set a task
timeline.
list and dates that we would like to have everything accomplished by. And
Okay.
I have some homework. There's lots of stuff to read to decide which protocol you want to go with. You're going to keep the same one we have and revise it. What the next progression as far as the involvement of students looks like. Yeah, what's developmentally appropriate, at which grade level, those type of decisions need to be made. It's very controversial as far as type of drills that the students participate in, as well as the desktop exercises. So being developmentally appropriate is something that we'll have to do some reading on.
Okay.
Make a recommendation. Are there any other questions?
Good.
Thank you. All right, our next item on the agenda is patrons' concern, and we have a few that have signed up. I'll just remind everybody, we try to keep these to 3 minutes or less, so just keep that in mind. The first person is Lee Rogers. I saw you here. All right.
So that was a lot of information there all at once, so I was kind of sorting through what we're doing, what we're not doing, what we're gonna try to do. One of the things, and the reason I'm here is because I've spoken to a lot of students and our teachers and our own police officers in our community, and it's just this disconnect of where we're at and where we're going. And I think the committee, I know that committee will help solidify that. The thing I've got right now though is after the Noblesville incident, of course, we came right out of the school year and now we've got this window. There was a lot of concerned teachers. When I say a lot, I obviously don't know all the teachers. So is there a way that we can get the training that Mr. Workmaster did at South Terrace into as many teachers as we can between now and the beginning of the school year, even if it's voluntary? Because I think that was primarily voluntary at South Terrace.
Yeah, they were the last of our buildings to do it this year.
Yeah.
It was conducted at each of our buildings.
And with the turnover rate of teachers either out for pregnancy leave or whatever, there was a lot of substitutes within our grade school here this year. And there's just a lot, when we talk to them, there's a lot of questions around, we don't know what to do.
The reason we're forming the committee is to address all that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're doing it.
Well, and I said, it's good to hear that committee's being formed.
So, we're trained to be educators, we're not trained to be safety we're trained to be safety specialists, but we're not trained like the police officers are. And with us trying to educate the kids, get the kids to school and get them home safe, I mean, we have to have somebody else doing that, and that's why we're forming the committee, because they're gonna focus on that the whole time, where it's a piece of what we're focusing on.
Absolutely, that's good. With Russ doing a lot of the training looks like he did several of the training, is there a reason he's not involved in that?
It wasn't just, I didn't mean to interrupt, it was not just me. Sheriff's Department was very much involved, everybody was involved, but Todd Ringel is very good at what he does. I think he can be a wonderful representative of this too. And I think I'm certain that we can all work together, because the goal in this is for safety, for everybody involved.
No, you're
I'm not
fine.
trying to interrupt you.
That's what I don't have.
Want
all
to
the
make sure that the Sheriff's Department was clear. They could not have conducted any of the training that I've done without the Sheriff's Department helping. Doug and Boyster, Corey.
Like most of us sitting here that are law enforcement have been at most of those trainings, so.
And I think it's important, the important piece to me is having the county and the state, and that way anybody that's, under or affiliated with the county knows the throughput is Tom, and the same way with Corey on the state line. So.
Yeah, in the event of an incident, we don't know who's gonna get there first, who's
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be a
there.
mix of
Posey
everybody
County,
that
Vicksburg
show up.
County, EPD, FBI be there, ATF. I was at Noblesville 2 weeks ago, and by the time I went in the building and came out, there was 300 FBI. I mean,
So
you
with
can't
that
even
said,
fathom what.
with that
it's
said,
kinda-
I agree with Dr. Kemp, that these guys, you're educators, but we're sitting a room full of cops here. Are you guys comfortable with what they proposed on this? I mean, does this look like where we wanna be and where we're headed?
It's not it's where we're going is what we need to focus on at this point.
I think it's a point in the right direction, for sure. I think it's a start. I think it's certainly something that can be built on.
And with that said, Dr. Camp, I know you don't know me or I don't know you, but I wanted to tell you that there's a community of people. I mean, these guys are fathers in our community, police officers. There's a community of fathers out here that are willing to help with these school assessments, engineers, electricians, contractors. And that's you guys asking. Obviously we don't see each other all the time. That's just you guys reaching out and saying, hey, we need some help with this. I know there's a cost to things. I can appreciate that. But some things, for this example, you've got training, it's conducted for free, right? That don't cost anything. And we've got people here in this community that I've spoken to that are willing to share our time from engineering standpoints, electrical standpoints, IT standpoint. That's here, it's here, so.
Thank you. All right, next person up is Valerie Workmeister. That's how you do.
I had a prepared statement here because, as you all know, I write, and I was going to speak, but a lot of information has been given out. And as a mother today, purely as a mother speaking, it concerns me that another committee is being formed. Another study is going to take place. I'm ready for action now. I don't want to wait till the first start of the school year to know that, our students are in jeopardy yet again. I mean, I think, there was an incident just last November that scared most of the school district into not attending school, because of things happening in the nation. I will give you that. Forming a committee to discuss these things is fine and dandy, but I really think that you need to be much more proactive than it has been thus far. The trainings that have been conducted by Russ have been very minimal and have been very difficult to schedule. And it's not been on the part of the schedulers, or on Russ's part, that the difficulty has been. The difficulty in scheduling these has lied solely on the responsibility of the school district. The controversy, the perceived controversy in involving students in this type of training is absurd to me. If these students are in an actual traumatic event, wouldn't you rather have them prepared on how to act and how to react than not knowing what to do at all and standing there in the hallway and freezing when someone comes down to them and not doing anything? There are ways to communicate to the public. Waiting till September to communicate to the public on what you're doing or not doing, it's too late. You've already got kids in school. I've spoken to these kids. I've had other people tell me that their kids have told them, in the event that something happens, they know what they're gonna do. They're gonna run. They're gonna run to where men are, because the men will protect them, because they don't feel protected or safe in our school. That's a problem. That is a huge problem. I don't wanna send my daughter to school knowing that I can't protect her. Now, it is a sad state of affairs that our staff, our teachers, our kids have to worry about this, but that is the reality. That is the way it is today. We must be prepared. And I urge you, the school board, to not just sit back and listen to what this committee proposes. Get a timeline, get dates. You will have this done by X date without fail. Make sure that the people that are telling you things, you have researched the information that they're giving you, because they're giving you facts that they've perceived. It may not necessarily be the right fact. So I would urge you not to just listen to everybody that is trying to give you information. And also, this one key point, I'm jumping all over the place, I apologize, but waiting for a mandate from the state, isn't that one more thing? We always hate hearing mandates from the state. They're making us do one more thing. Why doesn't North Posey jump out in front of this and do something that the rest of the community, the rest of the schools can emulate? Who cares what Warwick County is doing, or what Mount Vernon isn't doing, or what EVSC is or isn't doing? Let's set a standard that North Posey is going to do and will follow. I care about what's safe for my kids, not everywhere else. That's basically what I have to say.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people would disagree with a lot of what you've said. I mean, and I think that's why everybody's here that's here tonight. And nothing like this, nothing with that involves the school is gonna be successful without the input and cooperation of the county guys, the state guys, the community, the school, the teachers, the administrators. All the parts have to be, willing, and I think everybody is willing, but we have to start somewhere, and I mean, this is our best idea right now, and we feel like we have some professional people on board to help steer this committee, and we do have some time dates specific to try to address. And the only thing I'll say to mandates, they sure in the heck make a lot easier to enforce. And I know, for an example, from talking with Corey and Tom and the different ones, there's some disconnect at the state level between the Department of Education, the state police, on how you should handle these responses. So even at the state level, there's some disconnect and non-uniform approaches to this, and there's some disconnect on what training methods and programs to use. So it may be a little unfair to throw that at the school board or the school district to say, we're a little indecisive. I mean, we're kind of, our hands are tied to some degree from the state level on that, because we do have the state police who's governed by their group, but we have the county, we have our teachers, we have different ones that are handled from the state level. But I mean, you guys are gonna know who the committee members are. I just encourage you to continue to address them and you know, continue to challenge us and them to get this right and as good as we can get it, as soon as we can get it. So, appreciate that. The next item, our next person is Andrew, I wanna say this wrong, Porath, sorry.
I primarily put my name down just in case I want to say something. Just as I have a daughter, she's going in the 2nd grade here at North. So I am a father, not only a law enforcement officer. I would just like to say, I've got a lot of faith in the people that you've announced that are gonna be on this board. The only thing I would strongly encourage, because I've been involved in things like this that you are talking about in this school district in years past, in previous administrations. I've had conversations with Mr. Kavanaugh. We've sat in his office, talked about a lot of things we're talking over again. Knowing who's on this board, I have a lot more confidence that it will go forward. I've just been concerned in the past. We've had a lot of starts and stops in the North Posey School District in addressing this very issue. And that's the only thing that concerns me as a parent, is because I've seen it from the inside. We've had a lot of discussions over the last how many years, ever since I was training with the Posey County SWAT team, which Chief Latham was on. We used to train in the high school quite often, and then kind of went away. And then there were talks about this and talks about that. And to get to Val's point, I think a lot of parents, listen, it's been 20 years since Columbine, okay? Parents are tired of the excuses. And I'm sorry if that hurts anybody's feelings, because I'm not accusing anyone of anything. But we can accuse you of something going forward now. And trust me, as a parent, as parents, we will hold you to it now. So make sure your plan works. Because we will remember, because you've had 2 decades. Educators, the school district, the state, you've had 2 decades to discuss these exact same things that you're talking about in 2018. So we're not going to blame you for sins of the past, but we're going to hold you to it. As a dad, I'm not representing the sheriff's office, sheriff, chief. I'm just dad here talking tonight because I've seen it. And that's all I'm asking. I think that's all Val's asking. Stick to what you're doing. And I have every confidence in Corey and the chief that it will get done. So that's all I have to say about that.
All right, thank you. Sheriff Owens?
I don't know if the board realizes or not, Steve Kavanaugh's kind of been the torchbearer, at least with me, and to the point on the county side of this, on the county government side of this, to the point where we even were successful in getting a special session with the county council to meet. And we went down because what you may not realize with all this grant funding is there has to be county monies coming along with those grant dollars. And just trying to pull them out of the air, you're not very, as everybody in this room knows, you're not real successful there, because that's a very competitive effort too. And no matter what the cause and how noble the cause, it's a challenge. So Steve, along with the contingent, I don't know, Dr. Camp, if you came down, I know Steve was a spokesperson for you. So we were able to get those dollars put in the budget. Every year at budget time, we continue to look at those line items. We've been successful year after year since that initial allocation of funds. We've been successful year after year in increasing those dollars. And then we've got hidden fees in there as well. I mean, we've got automobiles, and we've got equipment and supplies lot of things that don't get reimbursed to us out of those grant dollars, we absorb from other line items and we just move on just as if, you know, that's what we're doing in a normal course of action. So we'll again seek to raise that line item, to put more money in it from our standpoint. I think we'll be successful, but you know, year after year, we kind of claw our way through that because again, those are competitive dollars. But with the assistance of with Steve and the other administrators that continue to put that little bit of pressure on the folks that sit on the county council, we get dollars. And I can tell you, those dollars are coming directly to the North Posey school system that we're doing. They're not going anywhere else. Those dollars that we've got in those line items are coming directly to this school district. So.
Thank you.
And if I could just give stress as far as the countywide safety commission, from the district standpoint, school personnel standpoint, that's where we receive our recommendations through, is that county safety commission. So if we have an officer with an administrator having a side conversation over here, or one having a side conversation over there, decisions aren't going to be made that way. That's not the method, it's not the form. The form is through the school safety commission. So going forward, we really need to use that vehicle, I think, more effectively than we've used in the past. But today, we've always have followed the recommendation of the school safety commission. I just don't think that vehicle's been used effectively enough.
I think that's an understatement.
Listen, I apologize. I didn't know what interrupted. We got X amount of minutes or whatever, but you know, we're talking about dollars and cents here, and how much our kids' lives is worth. What we're asking for some training and some audits of the schools that cost nothing. I'm sure there's a cost to personnel, but just some common sense. I mean, I go to work every day. I can't imagine my job calling me and saying, hey, there's a possibility you're gonna get in a gunfight today. Good luck.
I think the dollars and cents are for the personnel and for the, like, the cameras. And this year alone, we just added the keyless entry system with the cards, and we can turn cards on and off and lock in the doors, and training teachers not to put the rock in the door and that sort of thing. The radios for communication, we were working with the county and our SRO officers to combine the radio so that the SRO could talk to the county on the same radio. Those dollars, we're not placing value on children's lives. I just want to clear that up. Right now. What we're doing, I want to say, what we're doing, those dollars are for all of the equipment that we have to buy to try to make the children safe. That's what we're trying to do with the dollars. And you're right, we don't have to pay a dime for that, and that's why we're forming the committee, and that's why we're moving forward with the committee. And the committee will act and move forward than previous administrators have, because I know since I've been on here as the superintendent, we have taken safety, and Dr. Wanamuller has taken safety very seriously.
Last but not least, Mr. Moss.
I'll make it quick. I want to make sure everybody's clear. The sheriff's department we've worked wonderful together in this training. I don't want anything to get lost that, you know, that we're not working hand to hand in this, because that's not the case. You know, it's like we've discussed, it's going to be whoever shows up if something horrible happens. So I don't want there to be any miscommunication there. But what I have, I do like the idea that some things are going to move forward. I'd like to see that them go in a timely manner, because unfortunately time is of the essence. We don't want to wait any longer. We don't want to make any reckless decisions. Dr. Wanamuller and I had a really quick conversation at South Terrace about involving the children, and I don't know the answer to that as far as what grade level. I don't know. But what I do know is I've been around enough kids, and obviously everybody in this room has too. If you don't teach them, if you don't give them guidance, you're not going to be able to do anything with them. When someone is truly unbelievably scared where they can't function, and that's going to be the teacher. I can't imagine the children that are going to be so uncontrollably scared. If they don't have any type of information, training, guidance that they can fall back on, the likelihood of them having a successful outcome is very low. Having a success, that's not even a good term to use, nothing is gonna be successful. But having to minimize the damage and the death without the training and involving the students. And again, I don't know to what level, but if we don't involve them in some manner, and the teachers have the full backing of the board members to know that they don't, not gonna be in fear of anybody giving them a hard time because they're trying to teach these kids what to do. And when someone complains that they get themselves in the hot seat, it's unacceptable. They're trying to teach. They're trying to save not only their lives, but the children's lives. So they need to know that they have the full backing of the school board and the school administration. I think everybody here wants to know that the kids are gonna be safe and be as safe as we can make it. But everybody needs to know what the playing field is and what everybody's side they're on, which is the side of the kids to be safe. I think that's understandable on all sides. And again, like I've told other people, my boss has dictated to me that my schedule can change at any minute and I can offer any services at no charge. My time is dedicated to the school in any way that I can do it. Any role that I can fill, supportive, otherwise, any role that I can fill for this school, MSU of North Posey, all you have to do is ask. And I'm sure the sheriff's department is the same. I know Corey's the same. I don't know Andy, I don't know anybody that isn't in full support for this. So please, you have resources, ask for them. We will help in any way that we can, any way. Okay, I'm done. I do appreciate the time, and this is a positive step. Please make some turnaround quick so we're not behind. We're already behind. Let's keep moving forward with making good, solid decisions.
I appreciate your comment on that. I mean, I feel good about Corey and Tom being part of that and forming the committee and moving it forward. And you know, we have been blessed with really good cooperation between the sheriff's department and the school, and the local and state. We have lots of people willing to step in. And as no-brainer as it may sound sometimes, there are people that push back on really what I call no-brainer situations that cause it to slow down. We've got to find those roadblocks and find ways around them and for what's best for the whole community. And that's what this group's challenge is going to be. And the board is 100% united behind this effort, as well as the administration. So, I mean, the community is supportive of this. I will say one thing though. I've been around this enough. The one-time dollars are really great, and they work for one-time items, but a lot of times they bring continued burden of support from the budget to maintain those, even as small as the operation of a single handheld radio cost us to continue servicing that and maintaining that, and that's what people don't see a lot of times. I mean, you know, it's great that we put cameras up that we don't have now, but if we don't address funding to maintain those and keep those in service and running, we're missing the boat. And that's right now the challenge is the one-time dollars are there for that particular year. There's nothing set in stone for continuation of those, and that's where we need more champions helping and understanding that, because there could be a call for some help, for some dollars that aren't necessarily for a tangible item. It's just for continuation of service and training and things of that nature. So my math's not really good, but 6, 8, 10, we've got 10 champions sitting right here and 12 and so forth. So we'll need you guys in the future to help us on that as well. But thank you for all your comments.
Go ahead, Corey.
Can I say something? Just as I sit here and listen and, you know, kind of having the overall picture, I think to make everything better, there just seems to be a disconnect between when we talk about school safety. I'll use the cameras. Alright, cameras are probably something that, you know, it's going to help in certain things, but I just don't want to get let's not confuse getting some cameras with getting the safety and the training that our kids and our teachers need. Those are two totally different things. So I just think there's some, we're talking about a lot of the same things. We're saying safety, we're getting cameras, we're getting that. But let's not confuse the cameras and different things like that and radios with the training for the teachers and the students. That is one part of everything. So it's a big system. You think of the fire alarms, right? We got exits, that glow even if the electricity goes out for fires. We've got, everything in schools now is fire retardant. You've got sprinkler systems. You've got 4 or 5 layers of security for fires. But so on the same token, you've got to have X amount of layers for active shooter. Cameras are a good start. Locking doors is a good start. Radios is a good start. But what happens when someone is in that school with a gun and shooting your kids? We have to have a training section for that as well. So I think we're getting there, but just let's not confuse, cameras and this they're all different. It's all part of the same total encompassing thing, so.
That's a good point.
They're all components of the.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. We're talking a lot of the same things, but we're still apart. Together, it's not just the cameras, it's not just this, it's not just this training the teachers, not just training the students. It's all of it
It's pretty
together.
clear that we're focusing on what we can do.
Yes.
We're sitting by
You
watching.
guys are
and-
educators and administrators, and like you said before, you have 900 other things that you're doing throughout the school. I am here for one specific purpose, and that is to stop that from happening. That is our job here. If that ever happens, he'll be there, I'll be there, he'll be there. I don't know you, but he'll be there. There's so many people that are coming, but again, it's not just the one thing. We have to get it all together, and we can, I know we can do it. We've got the right people here. There's so many people, there's parents, there's a lot of parents that are concerned that aren't here. We just have to bring it all together and get on the same sheet of music. We are all on the same side. We are all on the same team. We just gotta get it together.
Yep. I agree. Anybody else before we move on? All right.
Next on the agenda, I have the following professional leave requests that are listed in your board packet. Ask the board to approve all of those professional leave requests as listed.
Entertained a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the professional leave request.
Second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Stock and seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve the professional leave request as presented by Dr. Camp. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Going down to reports, North Posey High School has submitted the report of the new student registration schedule. And then Amy and I attended a Pareto meeting, which is our insurance. If you know, we have the high deductible plans, we have the clinic. The first set of dollars for our medical insurance comes out of the premiums here in-house that is taken from our insurance provider. And then we're involved in the Contrarian, which handles cases, I think it's $30,000 to, they just raised it, it's like $1 million worth, and then we have stop loss carrier. We attended that meeting. The Contrarian is doing extremely well. When we joined, we were the 77th corporation. We're still, us and Mount Vernon are the only 2 schools in Indiana that I know of that are involved in this. And it's mostly small businesses, but they're over 200 in our Contrarian now, and then they have a whole nother one. So it is a good program, and 3 out of the last 4 years our medical insurance has been 0 or minimal, and we had 1 year where we got an increase. But your increases are based on your utilization. So I think that our insurance program is still one of the best that we have. So that's kind of that. Next on the list, it is time to do the 2019 budget timeline. And Vince brought out, what I did, Carol had the timeline for the 2019, basically with corresponding dates, as we always do. And with all that's going on, with them changing the budget from the 5 silos to operation and educational, with the state passing requirements that we develop the new ESSA codes, and we have to change per building where every dollar is going, which is changing all the accounting numbers, which we have to do as well. And we still don't have guidance from the state on how to do that, which our financial software is CompuTro. If they don't give us guidance, then CompuTro don't have guidance. We can't start the budget process. So I felt like we needed to delay it. We always did the budget early in case there was a mistake. We could then go back and correct it. So with that being said, I asked Carol just to take the same corresponding dates but back everything up a month. And that's kind of what happened. Vince called that we would be probably at our state meeting during the date that we said we were going to ask for permission. So I want to back the budget timeline up like we said, but instead of acting on the and asking permission to advertise it, I want to advertise it still in August, in the August meeting. If you recall, I've said, hey, I'm asking permission to advertise, but I'd already previously sent you a mail to get it to the paper, to get it published. We got to send it before so that this will correct that as well. So, so when we ask permission to advertise, we technically won't have the budget totally completed, but I'll have enough to where I can give it to you, and it won't be advertised until a month later. So that will be the budget timeline, and as Amy gave you the board meeting dates, the October board meeting is on a Tuesday. So just wanted to make sure that's because of our fall break. So just wanted to let you know that. And then a real quick one-to-one initiative report. They're in full gear. They're breaking out all of the labs, and Jake and the staff have been. We brought in the building staff to come in and help deploy machines, because if you recall, Jake was able to get a donation from ONB of over 100 machines, and so they have fixed them to where they're, what is that? They have fixed them and ran, so they have the software on them. They need to run all the stuff for there's a term for that, but I forgot what it is now. But image, there you go. And so they're all imaged, and they're deploying those in the buildings now. And so every teacher that has an active board then now will have a computer that won't take 25 minutes to turn on. It'll be top-notch machines. They're probably the best desktop machines that we'll have in the buildings at all. And with going to Chromebooks, that's not a big thing except for the active boards. And then that's a new piece of technology that does not require the computer and all of the other software, the overhead projector, and we have a Spark machine behind it, and then we have this that we've tested. The Spark machine was given to us, but this is the new machine, and all you have to have is internet, and you can do anything that you want without all those other pieces. And the life of this is about 10 years. So Jake is working real hard to update some of that technology. So anyway, that's kind of where we are one-to-one. Angie completed all of her meetings with the public. The dates have been scheduled for deployment. The machines have been ordered, so we're just kind of cleaning up the buildings until the machines get here. When those machines get here, then we'll start deploying those to the proper buildings to the count of the student population. And that is all I have at this time, so no other questions from the board or maybe to adjourn.
So are we moving the September date for the ISBA meeting?
If you
I
guys
suggest that we do.
Yeah. And the problem is, if it's Sunday,
Next month.
Yeah, we don't have
Yeah,
to do it
yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but we will have to.
The thing that we need to discuss is we generally have our meetings on Monday, and we're gonna be gone Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And so do you back it up to Wednesday? You know, we've gotta decide what date to have that meeting.
And it won't work to move it the week before probably because of the, CompuTrol and the claims docket.
Or what the bill is.
So we need to move it back. And we'll have to have one, we can't not have it, we just gotta decide what we're gonna do with that state meeting that we have to go to.
I mean, we can talk
Yeah.
offline, but my preference would be to keep it on a Monday and not do 4 straight nights of.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't wanna spend, I just don't know if my calendar will fit that in.
So we need to look at that, and maybe we'll make a decision on that board meeting in July.
Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause? I think I've told a few of you, but, I was able to get put on the state legislative committee for District 9. So we meet July 14th, which is a Saturday, which, well, maybe you need to know that a little bit ahead of time, but I think I have one weekend this summer that was available, that was not one of them. But anyway, if anybody has anything, and I'll be leaning on Dr. Camp to kind of fund that to go up to that meeting, but I'll still be working with Vince quite a bit on, as the legislative gets in there to get reports back out and stuff, but anyway. Anybody else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mrs. Will. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.